a percentage of men, and you need of the whole population. So that leaves you with a smaller number than 600,000, but it's still a large number. And when you take into consideration that most of the men are supporting of Hamas, they don't need to be enlisted. They just need to throw a stone or present aggressive towards the military that is securing the areas, and then they will be considered a militant. And to what Sam was saying, Hamas is the government. They are in charge of the education system. If you have seen the programs, the TV shows that they show to children when they're 2, 3, 4 years old, and how they teach them to do math with Jews, like, oh, if I have 5 Jews and I kill 2 Jews, how many Jews do I have left? I mean, these people are indoctrinated. So yeah, men that grow up, they are already ready to fight, and that is part of the strategy. You don't need to be part of the military. You just need to be willing to die for them.
And I'm just going to say this. The woman that is both Irish and Jewish by injection isn't wrong about her statement. So I'm just letting you guys know, like, she's actually pulling facts. And Lisa doesn't care one way or the other. She's not on one side particularly or the other. She's just more about the factual base. She would call it for what it is.
People don't...
No, and then when what I was saying about the UN numbers is when you look at the raw data that Hamas is reporting, these are Hamas numbers, and you see the whole amount of people that have died, and then you cross-check it with what IDF is claiming. So the vast majority of men that have been killed are reported as combatants. So that means that when you focus on the civilian numbers, you will find almost no men there because they have been reported as combatants. So if there are no men or barely any men in the list of civilians, then yes, you will have percentages of 80% or 70% of women and children because it's the leftovers. But then when you realize that out of 40,000 people that have died, 20% 20,000, so 50% have been reported as combatants, then yeah, the other 20,000 that have been killed are women and children. And that's when they say, oh my God, look, most of the civilians or 80% of the civilians that have been killed are women and children. How dare they? Well, because there are no men accounted in the civilians. So that's the reason why you're able to play with statistics. And when you have the raw data, you can always create a narrative that is convenient to you. But you can also be a critical thinker and try to make your sense on your own of the data you're looking at. But that's too much work for Othello. Othello prefers that somebody tells him what the data means.
I invited him to the stage.
They just removed him down, so don't do that. But the other thing that I have, the other thing that I have an issue with is when we have these whole debates is, why is it that you never talk about, like, no one ever brings up in these, like, oh, Israel's doing this and all this stuff. You don't talk about the Palestine that exist within Israel, the citizens there. Or you don't talk about the Christian ones that had to flee, or the 500,000 that are parked their asses in Chile and other places around the world because they were being persecuted by, guess who? Fucking Hamas itself. So, I mean, like the whole PA didn't even like that. So they all fled during that time. So I'm kind of confused by, like, why you're cheering on this whole narrative when you have all these other outside sources and you have this history of going through where they tried to topple Kuwait, they tried to topple Jordan, the fucking Egypt spent 50 years fucking trying to get rid of them. I mean, the whole Hamas thing, the whole fucking Muslim Brotherhood shit. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, like, at least get your facts right before you go on stage and go after someone like Norm or Issa and Daniel who done this shit.
But it's also the logic. These guys are just consuming and swallowing whatever the TV has chewed for them. And whatever they say, they come and repeat. Another thing is that you need to see the demographics and you need to understand the culture of these places. When you are looking at statistics where they claim that anyone from 18 years old and under is classified as a child, that is not how this society works. In this society, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, even probably younger than that, they are already being taught how to deceive the enemy and how to provoke the enemy and how it is noble to die for the cause. So when you have these teenagers, that are already playing a role in the war, you cannot report them as quote unquote innocent children. They are already combatants. So you also need to take that into consideration. So it's not just about the plain numbers. There is a logic or a reasoning behind reading the numbers.
Yeah, these people are playing by a different paradigm than people in the West are. They don't understand that they don't really have free choice or free will, because their will is the will of the state, or the people who control the state, which in this case is Hamas. So the vast majority of the people, and not only are they controlling them intellectually, but emotionally through religion. So they give them their religion, they give them their identity, they give them their marching orders, and this is the reality of the culture and the nature of Hamas.
And not only that, but we're talking about a culture that is taught that dying for a cause or a war in the name of the religion is something virtuous and that will get you to paradise. So for them, dying is not a punishment. It is a religion that worships death, or an ideology that worships death. So if they put themselves in the face of death, they are doing something virtuous. So when you talk about a population of civilians, that if you were talking about civilians that are trying to run for their lives, that's another thing, another complete different situation than when you're facing civilians that are willing to sacrifice their life and putting themselves in danger just in order to prove a point or to achieve an objective. So yeah, the IDF, it doesn't matter how much they tell them when they're going to bomb a building or when they're going into a specific area and they give them enough time in advance, a lot of them decide to risk their lives and die for the cause.
And they have a word for it. It's called the Shahid.
Yeah. I don't know, like all of these facts take into consideration, and it's useful to try to make sense of the data. The data is not just like straightforward. The data helps you tell a story, but you decide what story you're going to tell. Othello, it just needs to go back to school. It's like he didn't hear anything, or maybe he did, but he